Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the live stream. Last week, I think we finished up the chat module or whatever. Basically, these two, or this thing, where when you have matched, well, that's the idea in any case. After you've matched with your pet, you can start talking to it in English if you prefer, or whatever language, we don't really care, but the pet is going to talk in their own language. So hopefully you can understand them. um, cool. So to recap, by the way, you can rewatch it. It's on this channel. I think I also uploaded it to YouTube somewhere. I guess I'll leave a link in the on Twitch somewhere in the panels later tonight after the stream is done. But so last week, what we actually did was, I'll also show you some code, is we wrote, well, the chat Elm application, where we've got different types of chat messages. We've got a self chat message and then a match chat message. So this is a chat message that's coming from the pet that you've matched with. Then we also have a type alias called a conversation that's basically just a list of chat messages. And then our model for our application consists out of a pet, our text, the stuff that we're typing basically, and then the entire conversation that we've had before. Initially, we wanted to start talking with Cricket. So Cricket will be our pet. We've got an empty text or empty string for our text, and then an already existing conversation where we typed hey there Cricky Poo, and then Cricky wrote back with Bok Bok. Then there are different kinds of events that are able to happen. One of them is when we click on the send button, and then another event where text was entered, and then you get a string that was passed along to this text was entered message or event. Then what does our update function look like? Well, we've got a message and a model coming in. We case match on the message itself. When it's a text was entered message, and we can destructure the string that was passed along to the text was entered message, then we'll update our model with this new text that we got in when and then we'll return this updated model basically. Then when a send button was clicked, we'll update our conversation by adding our own text to the conversation using this function right here. We also made explicit that there is some text to be cleared, and then we return an updated model with our updated conversation and then our cleared text. So here I should really use cleared text like this to make it more explicit. Then this is the function on how to add stuff to a conversation, which if you look at this one, it's a specific function that adds self chat messages to the conversation, where we use a constructor to construct a self chat message with passed along text, and we add this to this conversation that's given along as well to the function itself. Then we just call an append function basically to append the latest text that we wrote to the entire conversation and return that. Then what does our view look like? It's basically just a div with a body, some header stuff. We've got some dynamic stuff in here as well, namely our pet, which has got a name and a photo URL. And then we've got a method or a function to render our conversation with. Just hang on for a quick second here, because otherwise I will not be able to read your chat messages. There we go. That should do it. What else do we have? Right, so this renders the entire conversation, so it's a, a big mapping function, right? And what it does is it takes in a conversation and then returns a list of HTML messages where we just render a message in this fashion, where we also do a case match because we want to style it differently when there's a self-chat message or the pet has written something. And that's about it, I think. Oh, wait, there's one more thing that I've missed. So that was to render the conversation, but then there's also the input type, which is this thing here. So the text box, text area. You can type text in there, and then when you click on send or when you press enter, you want to send the send button was clicked event basically. To register or to do that functionality on clicking the button, it was fairly easy because you can just register a click handler on buttons. But to send the message as well when you pressed enter, that was a little bit more difficult. So what we have is this input text field has a non-input handler where you send the text was entered message basically to your update function. And then the other thing we wanted to do was register whenever enter was pressed. So what we had to do for that was we had to make up our own handler function basically. So what you had to do was you have to create an on with options thing, like function. You give it the HTML event registration string basically. Then we had to pass along these properties to stop the event from bubbling up as well. And then we needed to map the key code to some kind of event or a message in our case. And this is where the send on enter thing comes in, where we register whenever 13, aka the enter button, we just send the event send button was clicked basically, and then that was that. Now we didn't really made explicit that we actually clicked on enter or pressed enter or whatever. So the first thing I want to do is refactor this and then make it into something which makes a little bit more sense. So it shouldn't be send button was clicked. It might be something like maybe in this case like yeah, enter was pressed, but then a message was sent or something. Or a message was entered maybe. Message was entered. Let's check with that stuff. Yeah, and then let's keep it the same everywhere for now. Should have just done this. Let's check whether or not it still works. I do this by firing up our Elm reactor. And I think if everything is well, nope, it's not well. I should actually be running the backend as well, because we'll definitely need it tonight. All right, we'll go to localhost right here, go to the index, and then here's our, let's keep it in a separate window maybe. And this we don't care about for now. So whenever we type a message, and we click on send, it still works. Another message, we press enter, and it still works as well. Okie dokie. So we did some small refactoring steps, and let's just make a commit for that. Okay. There we go. Cool. So what's next on our list to do? It's already fun that you can talk to or that you can add messages for your own, but it would be more fun if the pet would actually say something back on some occasion, right? And that's the idea for today. So again, we're doing Jan Sabbe's Petindr kata. You can follow along on GitHub. I think the link is in is on Twitch somewhere. I hope. Um, if not, just poke me. Right. So this is the last exercise that we can do for now. So what does it say? In your list of chat messages, you will need to make a distinction between a chat message that the user sent and a chat message that the pet sent. Actually, we've already done this. And then chat messages from the pet should be visualized using chat item other divs. We've already done that as well because we are rendering our chat messages. And whenever that message is a self-chat message that contains a string, or we register or we render it using a chat item self stuff. And whenever it's the pet, we've called it match chat message, then it's going to be rendered using chat item other, just like this bullet point suggests. So then there's more additional or some additional information where he's saying that the WebSocket server is living on WS localhost 3000, API chat, and then the pet ID. And then a few seconds after connecting, you will get a message from the pet. So that implies whether or not you've said anything back. He or she will also always reply when you send a message. Okay, cool. Then each time the user sends a message, so when we've typed something and we've pressed enter, we need to send it via WebSocket to this URL using the pet's ID. And then each time the server sends you a message, we need to add it as a chat message from the pet to your model. Cool. And then as a hint, we've got this WebSocket module that we can use to listen for messages and also to send messages. So let's check that stuff out. I've already opened it. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Learn the best way to learn. Read guide Elm, the Elm architecture. Interesting, because this seems to be just a generic one. Here's a thing on WebSockets. Excellent. We are going to make a simple chat app. Well, I happen to be making a simple chat app as well. And they've got an input, something to send, and then something when new message arrives or something. So sending is a constructor of a model with an empty string and then messages, which you also get as an input right here, and then they destructure it like this. Ooh, this is interesting. I haven't seen this before. Then you can already destructure your model into just the things that you are interested in whatever function that you require. That's pretty neat. Okie dokie. And then what you need to do is apparently, and this is then the command part. So right here you can see the command is do none. But then you can also send something, namely input And input is something on your model. And where does input come from? Well, input comes from wherever the input message was built, and I'm betting, yeah, so there we go. So here on the they've registered their on input. Hang on, because where have they defined on input? In fact, on input, is this a standard event? Did we also do this? Have I forgotten this? Yes, I have. Cool. So instead of input, we've got text was entered. Okay, fine. Let's check it out. What do they do with it? So here, the text, whatever text that got entered was put into input. Right there. And then they destructure it. Where is the model? So whenever new input happens, new inputs gets fed into model. So this is basically the string you've been building in your input text. Yeah, that's also pretty neat. They use constructor functions to update your model. I guess if you're constantly replacing, then it looks more normal like this, I guess. Interesting. So then it doesn't really seem all that much work, in fact, right? The only thing we need to take into account is we need to both add it to our conversation. Yeah, we need to both add it to our conversation and then also send it over the WebSocket. Okie dokie. Let's figure out. Oh, so you just do import WebSocket. So by the way, I haven't actually explained any of this before, I don't think. But in here, in elm package.json, we have declared all our dependencies. Now, we or Jan already added WebSocket to your dependency, so you don't have to worry about any of this. But so in any case, this is where all of the WebSocket or the HTTP or HTML stuff comes from. As you can see, it's versioned. We are using the same version, hopefully as being described right here. So we don't need to update any of this. Maybe in a later episode or something, I can try to add a new dependency and see how we should do that. Okie dokie. So in any case, what we want to do is whenever the thing I just refactored, in fact, message was entered, was updated, we need to also send this message over WebSocket. So what I need to do is import WebSockets. Maybe like, man, I've been working with IntelliJ all day, and now my hotkeys are all messed up. My shortcuts. So I've imported a WebSocket. Then what we need to do is WebSocket dot send. And what do we need to send? Well, it takes a URL, right? And then an input or a string. And the URL looks like this. Send message, go like this. And then to pet ID. Voila. And here we need to add our pet's ID to it. And we have that on our model dot pet dot ID, I believe. I'm not sure, pet ID. And then it breaks because okay, so now we just guessed, but there was some thicker underlined part over here, but Elm's complaining about something different because the second is question mark to command message. Well, we haven't completed this function just yet because it should take some string. And what is the string? Ooh, interesting. Maybe we need to have our text. Oh, what now? Ah, so pet ID isn't a string just yet. So don't worry about the abundance of braces. We'll fix that later. So now it seems to be compiling. And I wonder if I've got some stuff set up or if stuff is going to get logged whenever we update. Okay, here we go. So we've got our application on the left, our debug window top right, and then the output of the backend server on top right, bottom right. So let's check. Will this work? Nothing happen. So now nothing is happening. So the click handler isn't doing anything anymore. Now why is that? Maybe it has something to do with this command that we've been sending, but then nothing gets done with it, because I bet if we replace this thing again with cmd none and we refresh the application again, then it still works. Okay. So let's look up what other stuff we need to do, because I bet we need to do something with the command .none stuff. Now, maybe is there something else that we can check aside from code? One of the rare libraries that makes use of both commands and subscriptions. Ooh, subscriptions, we've seen that, but we aren't doing anything with those things just yet. What is there to be said about subscriptions? So here is the actual command that we are gonna send out. And then here in our subscriptions, we are listing all of the subscriptions that we should output, basically. And in this case, I guess we should also be listening to whatever stuff is being put on our WebSocket as a response. Where are our subscriptions? Over here. So we don't do sub none anymore. So this should be different as well, right? We need to use this thing to subscribe on. It's the same thing as the URL as there, right? So go like this, and then this should take a pet ID. So let's just hard code. I don't know what Cricky's pet ID is. 4. So we'll hard code 4 in there for now. Just keep in mind that we need to make this don't hard code Cricky's pet ID. And then new message doesn't exist just yet. It's an event or a message now that we need to take into account. So let's not call it new message. Let's just call it maybe Jan has some ubiquitous language for this. You will get a message from the pet. We've also had matched chat message received, maybe? Because this is basically the event that happened, right? Now we need to go back to our messages. Oh, and then add that as well. I won't be surprised if it takes a string, in fact. Yep, there we go. So matched chat message should take a string. This is the stuff that we learned last time. So there we go. And then stuff's compiling, but in fact it's being caught by this thing right here, right? Because underscore is just basically saying catch all the things and then do nothing with it. But so now let's check out if just adding a subscription actually continues the process. So we'll just refresh, and then we should just refresh, and then not be able to click on history and again. Interesting, very, very interesting. Shit's gone wrong. Does it work in Chrome? Because now I'm also at a loss, in fact. No, it does not work on Chrome. Maybe it's got something to do with our listener now. I have no idea, man. Let's see. Well, I can't get rid of it anymore. Sub none, right? Just remember sub none. Oh, maybe it has something to do with having to restart our. So now it's just this thing that's broken. No. I have to re-add this again. Okie doke. Let's see, and just restart the thing, and then hopefully that will work. Now waiting for localhost. Maybe it's also waiting for the WebSocket now. Oh, or it could be that Firefox is blocking. Oh boy. Network, where are you? Network. And then check whatever that's going on. All the things. Okay. It's kind of weird, right? So let's start a new window. Maybe it's got something to do with the incognito part or something. I'm at a loss. So my backend server is running. Frontend server is running. This is very strange. So I'm thinking that it has something to do with cross-origin resource sharing or something, that Firefox is blocking this and not showing me anything. Or so here's Chrome. Chrome is just, well, whatever. But in Chrome, the Explore history thing is broken. Get lost. Ah, listen is not defined. Ooh. So it might be that my, wait, so why is it my code compiling then? Is it compiling? I'll make. Oh. So the Elm reactor is supposed to also continuously run the compiler, but there might be something wrong with that stuff. So I forget what the actual command was. So it's something like Elm package install or something. Install then, I guess. And they seem to be configured successfully. Very strange. Okay. So then the other thing we could do is go like this and then check how Elm make actually works. We want to, it's source chat.elm, and it does seem to work. And here's the index.html we just created. Then if I do this, then that should stop. It's gonna stop hosting it, right? Oh, it's gonna recompile it or whatever. Oh, KP-POC. So why is this home now? It shouldn't be home. Or it could be that the index.html was regenerated somewhere else as well. Nope. Yeah, I forget all this stuff. No. Okay. Now we've got no styling anymore. But does it work? So sending does work. Wait, maybe what is the pet ID? We just use cricket, right? So that's supposed to be 4. But then I don't think that, here. There are some errors in here. And here we also get the input, so that's good. So maybe that's every time I close my connection, or basically close my browser or something, then we get this timeout. So now I just closed the front end that was running. If I close this, am I gonna get a timeout? Doopy doopy doop. I really wonder what's going on with the Elm reactor not doing this or not compiling my WebSocket stuff. Is it because I'm importing all the things or something? Because I guess I could just expose the things I'm using, which is listen and send or something. listen, and send out. Still no timeout received anymore. And the enter also works. And for some reason I've lost all of my styling. Why is that? So this is gone. And here's all of the stuff it should be loading. And then an index.html. Yeah. I have overridden index.html in my when I was when I did Elm make, I overwrote get status, and this has been modified, so that's why. Let's do that then. There we go, and then run this again. And then we can do this again, and then we should be able to. And now I'm at a loss. Why would it not work? It doesn't recompile index HTML anymore. And this is the thing we do. So in our Elm program, we just go run Elm program. Maybe something's broken in there. Maybe. Okay. We don't need to do anything. Well, we don't need to send out an event saying that we've come alive, so to speak. Because this is basically our subscription function. Let's check this thing some more then. Our subscription. Here we go. So the new message arrives, a new message has a string, and then they just call it again. Or update their model using the input that was received from the WebSocket. And there is nothing additional to that stuff, so maybe I can find more in here or something. Okay. It is important that you are also subscribed to this address with listen or keep alive. And so maybe we're like in a deadlock situation of some kind. Or not. Yeah, they. Now I'm just wondering if we need to initially send like nothing. Send to this thing. An empty string. And then see how that reacts, I guess. Look, this is not a function. I'm just trying to do a home. It's trying to compile home instead of chat. So maybe let's switch that thing up then. There we go. So now we don't know for sure whether or with what thing this fix had to do. Either it was updating the index HTML to just chat, or it was a combination of this. So here we first had cmd none. Let's now. So now I am unsure whether or not to restart my thing every single time. Okay. And I can open this as well. Yeah, there we go. So in the end, the problem was because our index.html was listening to, or was really trying to load in the home.elm application during compile. And then for some reason, before it always, or the Elm reactor always updated it properly, so that home went to chat.elm, and or for some other reason I can't explain. In any case, so now it seems to be working, right? We didn't need to initially send this stuff, but then again, our pet isn't sending anything back anymore, or anything back either. Now it could be that Jan has only configured Princess to say something in his backend server. That was very meta. Opening a new code window from inside a terminal inside Visual Studio Code. Nope. It did define something for Cricket. Answers. Maybe we should also log something whenever this thing gets sent out. So we should do both send and log Oh wait, we do already log. Hmm. But it's not returning anything. Now the connection is gone, right? So if we restart our Elm reactor, and maybe with just enough patience, we we will be able to receive a message from Cricket. I'm sure. Error not opened. So it is trying to send, but then it's getting exceptions. Why is that? What is not opened? My socket? Is it because I haven't sent anything? Hello. Now I'm just waiting for a response or an error code. Nothing's happening. It's gonna be the subtitle of my stream for tonight. Nothing happens. It would help if I would know something of from this Express WebSockets server. But then the receiving part seems to work, right? Hmm. Maybe I'm not sending to the right ID or something stupid like that. So it's API. Holy shit, these guys. It's a war zone here. API chat. API chat. It does seem to be that I'm posting to the same or to the expected host address. On message. Let's do some good old classical debugging then. I'm thinking this is where I get my message. I'm not sure. I know. So this is like the default thing to send out a message, and then it tries to. I really don't think it can establish a connection to localhost 3000. Maybe some silly stuff is going on with my virus scanner or something. Oh boy. Hang on. Let me. So this is the first thing I'm gonna use this window. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okie dokie. So I've done a netstat, and it seems to be running on port 3000. And then let's go with Elm Reactor once again. And then ditch this stuff. So it seems to be doing whatever it was that was necessary. So let's figure out, because our code was working at some point, or well, our application was reacting to something, right? Ooh, maybe I have an idea. I think someone on our Slack has told me this as well, to check whether I'm actually updating my model whenever my chat message was received. And you can indeed see that there is a matched chat message received called BOK. So we did in fact get a message back from our server, but I'm not doing anything with it apparently. So I'm just being a stupid poopy head. So let's do something whenever we have our matched chat message received thing. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh man, this was the dumbest thing ever. So here's the chat message that we got, and we need to just update our model, and then, well, basically do this. Sorry. Let in, and then, yeah, only update our model with conversation is updated convo, and send out nothing. And then we don't need to add self to convo, but we need to have a add matched to convo, basically, which is exactly the same thing as here, except with a self, not a self, but matched chat message, or match chat message. Then this also needs to be updated. All right, now let's check it out. There we go. So now we did receive something, I'm guessing. But once again, we haven't quite updated it with the proper thing. It seems to be an empty string. So either an empty string was the thing that got returned, or we're still not doing, oh yeah, because we don't want to add our text to the updated convo. We want to update the actual, let's just call this message, because that's really what it is, right? Okie dokie. Refresh this stuff after resuming it. No message, no message, no message, no message, no message, no message, no message. A message, and there we go. And now we are chatting with pets. Hooray! Man, that was a wild experience, you guys. So in the end, it was a really dumb move on my end to not take into account that there were actually matched chat message received messages being done, and nothing was being done with them. So thank you again, Jan, for your help. I wish you did it in a Twitch chat. Then anyone can connect with you on there as well. Now what did we miss? So let's go over the thing that we did, just to show how actually, or what the actual simple steps were to get this stuff working. We only had to update our, well, not pass along command none, but instead pass along a send command that sends our text to our pet. To our pets through the WebSocket. Then we also had to update our subscriptions, and we tell it to listen to the same chat thing. We've hard coded this for now, and whenever we get some message returned from that WebSocket, we fire a match chat message received MSG, like this one. And then whenever that thing gets handled and we receive this kind of a message, then we'll update our conversation and use this function to, in fact, update our conversation to add a matched message to the conversation. That's really it. Add match message to convo or something. There we go. And there's that. So the other thing that we did was we were debugging this thing at some point, where in index.html we had to switch home into chat. I have no idea why you need to do this, because before we introduced the WebSockets, or basically subscriptions, everything seems to work just fine whenever we had home.elm in there. So I don't really fully understand why Elm or the Elm reactor does that like this. But in any case, that fixed that stuff as well. Then so I'm gonna make this thing into a commit, right? Just gonna do this separately as well. You see, had to update. What do we have to update? The reference, basically, right? To the compiled. Had to update compiled Elm program. Blah. Compiled Elm program. Fix for subscriptions by updating ref to chat.elm. And then in our chat.elm, wait, no. Let's do this. And then see what we changed. We added the match chat message received. And then added the subscriptions. But in the end, all of these changes were necessary to do what? To get now talking to robot chickens. Bam. This can go as well. Okay, so now a little bit of a teaser, I guess. This can go. So exercise 6 sort of already speaks about the thing I want to talk about. It's namely routing between home and chat. So now we've got two separate applications where in our home Elm we are able to match and swipe basically with pets. And then we've got a chat application where we are able to chat with our matched pet. And you can already see don't hard code the pet ID in here. Now we already have our initial model in here where we say, well, run this page with our initial model being Cricket. Now in our program we say just do this initial model, and here we should be using the model being model.pet.id, I think, and then do this into a toString, and then really pass along all of this as well as a string. And then we've made this dynamic as well. There was some other part as well, I think, that we were using. This thing. Yeah, so here we're doing it dynamically as well, here as well. Let's see if it's still running then. This seems to be working. Are we getting a reply? Yes, we are. Cool. There we go. But so in any case, where does this initial model come from, right? I guess what you want to be doing is you want to sort of get this initial model started with the pet that you matched with from some kind of a screen. So let's say, let's see if we can, if I just go like this now, is this going to refresh itself and now show me the other application? Yes, it is. So whenever, but then it's not working anymore because of the same reason, I'm guessing. Home.elm. So whenever you message, you match, you can click on send message, and this should take you to your chat application that we've built separately now. And then you should be able to start chatting with the matched pet that you've got. Maybe we can also now clean up this part here because so let's do this and then update this into something empty, right? Because now we can actually just start talking. And then we say hello, Cricky Poo. And there's Cricky. Cool. So this also makes some sense, I guess. In the end, you want to have some recurring conversation going on, right? But that I think is for a next time, a future time. Now I'm unsure what you guys want to see because we sort of finished the kata. We could try and figure out live next time how to actually do this. And then it's going to be more of me going like, oh my God, what's all this WebSocket stuff, just like we were doing today. But then trying to figure out how to do routing in Elm. That includes looking a lot of stuff up because this is basically also my research time, so to speak. If that's okay with you, put it in the chat or send me a tweet, whatever you want. Or that there. That's the other option. I could also start doing other content, so maybe not Elm, because I've been toying around with this idea of starting some open source repository um, with just some idea, and then I would live code sessions where I contribute to that open source repository that I just started, basically. So either those two are the things that I want to really do, but I still like you guys' input on that. So feel free to chat or tweet me or ping me on Slack or whatever you want, because I validate your feedback. Cool. So sorry for the annoying pause in between, but I'm glad that Jan helped me. So thanks again, Jan. Um, maybe also post whether or not you intend to extend your exercise and actually get rid of this to-do thing and write some text there. That would be great. Or if you want to collaborate on that, just book me as well, and I'd be happy to. Cool. So that was it for tonight's stream. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week. In any case, let me know what you want to see, whether it be more Elm or starting something new. All right. See you guys.